The idea of a Mario movie is still funny to me, even after having understood that a property doesn't need to have much of a story structure to be adapted into one of the most consumed format of entertainment. Growing up and seeing what got released made this very clear to me, from the Lego movie to frickin' Playmobil. DreamWorks has Trolls, Paramount has Sonic the Hedgehog, and now Illumination has the Mario Bros. Movie. Spin the wheel to see whatever's next. As both a movie fan and a Mario fan, I was ambivalent about the Mario movie, with the little hope I had from it being animated getting automatically crushed knowing it were to be produced by Illumination. I'd often stumble on some crazy fan art put out there leading me to dream about the potential direction a Mario movie could be taken, keeping in mind that expecting these would be unrealistic. As the trailer revealed, the movie seemed to go for an accurate and safe direction rather than a bold and creative one, which, while on brand for Illumination, is also generally fine. What was less fine were the two camps, which seemed to have been made right after that trailer got dropped and only got tighter knit after the movie's release. You've got the fans on one side and hater critics on the other, engaging in what I'll call a dialogue, with some interesting things being said by the reviewer community, which seems to stand somewhere in the middle, leaving me with a few questions. Like, why should a film be exempt from criticism for reasons related to its target demographic? I personally don't think it should. What is the movie's target demographic? Not all films are good or bad for the same reasons. A film will require certain criteria, and another one will require different ones to fulfill people's basic expectations according to what's being sold. With that being said, politely asking for more from art or saying you didn't like it for whatever reason shouldn't be discouraged, so why doesn't it apply here? Any work of art will either be liked or disliked to varying degrees by consumers. Why should that be different for the Mario movie? Can't be because it's a kids movie, because it's not. I mean, it's also for kids. I'm not about to gatekeep the Mario property from the youngins. There's a difference between having a neckbeard and being one. I'm just saying Mario games are enjoyed by people of all ages, which might explain its undying popularity. If a lesser entry in a beloved franchise is released, it'll rightfully be criticized. I think that the same would apply to movies. Suddenly, a kid's film becomes a family film if it's good enough. Shout out to Ghibli, Pixar, and a select precious few from DreamWorks and Sony Animation. Now you gotta wear a bulletproof vest just to say that you wanted a bit more from the Mario Brothers movie before getting hit with the "what did you expect? It's just a Mario movie." And I'm like, a movie, I guess, maybe with a plot. If all it takes is weaponized nostalgia for a video game adaptation to break financial records, then don't expect anyone else to try a little harder on any kid-friendly property. Apparently, kids don't need or deserve anything other than the bare minimum. This also reminds me of the defense expressing that not the reviewers themselves, but their kids enjoyed it, referring to their toddlers, as if keeping the intention of a literal rugrat was a feat in of itself. As if a 3-year-old wouldn't enjoy whatever thing is put in front of them as long as it has color and doesn't make them cry for some reason, like Peter Jackson's King Kong made me do when I saw it in theaters. I was 8. Kids aren't dumb, but them being distracted by an animated film doesn't really mean much. This is also paired with saying that kids and families will enjoy it, as if there's some separate elusive normie demographic devoid of standards, allowing them to enjoy basically anything that's given to them if it has things they recognize. As if gamers, people like you and I, casual viewers to film lovers, all people with tastes or standards don't also grow to have families. There's definitely an incel joke somewhere in here, but that's not the story I'm trying to tell. I should confess something. I haven't seen the movie yet, which is why I've refrained from critiquing something that I haven't seen. That would be deceitful. I'm instead focusing on the chatter surrounding the film, with parts which seemed a little odd to me. Again, as both a film fan and a Mario fan, I feel a need to reiterate this because people who know me would brand me with the word critic from the way I express myself about movies and stuff. But I think the needless separation between critics and audiences does nothing for the conversation. It's encouraged by Rotten Tomatoes, but worsened by the vocal watchers. There's definitely a loud, smelly vocal few that tends to come off as the scarf wearing, pipe smoking caricature. There's also another faction deeming this movie to be woke for some reason, and I'm not gonna get into that because it's not worth it. The point is, critics aren't all old, out of touch pickles dispatched to expel their demeaning opinions about the thing you enjoyed. I especially don't understand the statement that claims that a movie wasn't made for the critics. Like, what even are those? Movies that actually try to be good? A movie strictly for adults? Scorsese? This needs to be unpacked because I don't think a movie needs to be thought provoking to be good. The Mario movie doesn't need to be a critique of capitalism or a fascist allegory or engage in a philosophical dialogue camouflaged by groundbreaking spectacle to be good or enjoyed by critics. Though I'm also not saying no to any of those things either. I'm pretty sure the Lego movie was well liked by both audiences and critics, but that was an anomaly, and we can't get too many of those, right? Sure, we can't get a Puss in Boots 2 or a How to Train a Dragon every 3 months, but also why not? There's also another reviewer who at some point justified the movie's lack of a plot by saying that he doesn't play the games for the story. Me neither, but then why a movie? It's a different experience requiring different components by nature. Isn't that the point of an adaptation? What one enjoys from the games can also be there and might even be enhanced by the elements brought by film. There's this one review that expresses that the movie desperately needed more character moments, which sounds like a valid critique you'd hear in any review, but then follows this by expressing that all that stuff is not necessary for a Mario movie, which gave me the worst whiplash I felt in a minute. What if I told you that it can have all of those things all while preserving everything people would typically enjoy from it? It's a possibility people just need to accept and embrace. This is how we get better things. We're all trying to have a good time, and a real good critic's job isn't to sound smarter than the masses, even if some will actively aim for that vibe, which I just don't want to engage with these people. The real problem comes from the crowd that tries to silence those who want to vocalize critique towards a thing dearly held by most. If you really believe what you're saying, then being exposed to a quote unquote critic's view isn't likely to shake your thoughts, but might present you a different perspective unless you're that insecure about your opinion. Whatever a critic asks from the Mario movie won't nullify the things audiences already liked. Plot twist, some of those professional critics just so happen to be on the same side and most likely also played the games because who hasn't at this point? They just want the things that makes any movie good to be present as well. Why should the Mario Bros. Movie be in its own excusable category for being what it is? What even is that category? Can't be video game adaptations because you're then putting that in conjunction with The Last of Us, and that would be a bit unfair. Or would it? All in all, I personally don't plan on watching it, and not because I think I'm better than everyone else or because I don't like Mario. Maybe I'm on a budget. Maybe I'm saving my month's $20 for a movie I was genuinely excited about, but was afraid, a movie for the critics, art savvy intellectuals such as myself, just kidding. In all honesty, the trailers didn't make it appear as having what I'm personally looking for in a Mario movie or any movie for that matter. I don't say this as a 20 some guy, but as an individual with my own cinematic sensibilities. I also say this as an animated movie fan, which aren't all kids' movies, except for maybe Paw Patrol, but hey, maybe it's a clever pastiche of dispatcher thrillers. I haven't seen it, so I can't tell. People have been on the defensive, collectively saying stuff like, it's just the Mario movie, as if subconsciously demeaning the very thing they claim to have enjoyed, and that's kind of a turnoff if you ask me. People should maybe quit prefacing a thing they like with the word just. You can respect a thing you enjoyed without being mean or tribal about it. Again, I'm not the kind of person who'd try to take something away from others. Here's a secret. I and many other quote unquote haters just want to enjoy things as much as the next one, not take things away from them. I think critics' apparent resentment stems from envy, but deep down, we're all on the same side, so break that fence because it's helping nobody. I'm just trying to stop people trying to stop other people from expressing their valid and non toxic opinions. And this really goes beyond the Mario discussion. I also don't feel like watching it because I heard and read enough that led me to make this decision. That's what reviews are for, and some are more reliable than others. A friend and I were talking about the movie the other day, and having watched it, he had a list of things he didn't enjoy, such as low tier jokes, a bare bones script, a confused soundtrack, reliance on fan service, and a bunch of other stuff. He didn't like it. And before he could go on, I interrupted him and semi jokingly said, that kind of sounds like the death of cinema. And we both kind of exploded in nervous laughter. Now, I know that sounds incendiary, but I promise I wouldn't be saying this if this movie wasn't on its way to be the most financially successful animated movie of all time. I just think it incentivizes studio to carry that approach onto all family-friendly properties, and I think that's a bit dreadful, especially with the Lego movie existing. So this might be why the movie and its notable success would be a little upsetting to a simple movie-loving critic. It's less about the movie on its own and more about its potential impact on the landscape. Movies are products, and like any other, reviews help you decide whether it's worth your time and money or not. I could make the promise of watching this film if this video gets 10,000 likes, but that's never realistically gonna happen because it is my first video, unless. Anyways, this was a fun little thought piece, and I felt like putting it out there, and with it, I invite every possible counterargument coming from any other perspective. I just hope it leads to a little more of an understanding from as many sides as possible. I have no idea what the next thing will be if there is more. On that note, thanks for listening, and have a good time. I'm Mike, by the way.